Hello, 8th graders. You are watching this because I am at a meeting. I will be back halfway through the day. I won't see any of you, but I may see you around school, and I will hear momentarily how well you did in this class. So before we begin with the PowerPoint, I need everyone to have a sharpened pencil. To make sure you have the note sheet that you'll be filling in front of you. Have nothing out on your desktop, only a pencil in the notes, and make sure that you're not tipped too far back into your chair because we want to make sure that you can take notes at the rate that I'm giving them. So let's look at the I can statements for introduction to debate. I can define and apply debate vocabulary. I can define speaker roles and responsibilities. I can analyze debate structure and format, and I can generate topics for debate. All of these I can statements you will be able to do by the end of the unit, and it's very important that you take this seriously because I'm hoping that your final product for the debate unit will actually be a debate. And there's a certain structure that you have to follow, and you're all going to be graded independently, even though you will be working in groups, and you also will be having a quiz on the vocabulary that will be given throughout this PowerPoint, and I'll let you know when exactly those terms start. So let's get going here. Why should I learn debate? You need to learn to debate because you need to be able to persuade others to get what you want. I know a lot of you are very good at this right now. In the near future, you'll be writing college admissions essays, and you need to be able to persuade the admissions department why you should go or be admitted to their college. You need to be able to persuade your parents to allow you to do something, or convince your friends that you should go to maybe see a certain movie over a different one. And you need to be able to argue for something in your job. So if you have a job and you really want to bring something different to the table, you need to be able to persuade your boss why it would be a good idea. Also, debate is important because you need to be able to help settle others' arguments. So negotiating for a peaceful solution, and mediating between friends and or family. And when you are negotiating and mediating, you're kind of in the middle, you're neutral, you don't necessarily have strong feelings on one side or the other, but you want to help others solve the argument. And lastly, you need to be able to defend yourself. I hope this isn't something you need to do often, but you may need to be able to prove your innocence. This could be just within your family setting. I didn't mean to break the vase, Mom. I didn't mean to break the TV. Hopefully you never have to prove your innocence in court, but so that's just another reason why it is important to learn debate. You need to be able to defend yourself and prove why something was unintentional. I know that when I was growing up, my brothers oftentimes had to explain to me that they didn't mean to hit me that hard. It wasn't on purpose. It was unintentional. And also to argue why something shouldn't happen. We shouldn't do this. We shouldn't have you make dinner, Mom. We really should be ordering pizza. So all of this would help you in your lives in one way or another, and that's why we need to learn debate. So what's the difference? On your pre-assessment, we learned a lot about, or I had you answer a question about the difference between debate and a fight. But we're going to start with argument because that is 2A. And an argument is presenting a persuasive opinion. There may or may not be another person involved. So for 2A, you need to fill in presenting a persuasive opinion. Then we have debate for 2B. Debate is two people equally trying to prove which side is right using a formal structure. Again, I want you to focus in on the fact that it says formal structure. We will be following a specific structure. It's going to be a little more simplified than the real debate structure that's out there. And you are trying to prove which side is right. And you are going to be placed on a side for your debate. It's not how you feel about the topic that we're debating. I'm just going to say, okay, McKenna, you're on this side, and Victor, you're on that side. And you may not truly agree with the side that you are placed on, but you need to be able to fake it in such a way that I can't tell. And lastly, a fight. A lot of you were able to tell me that a fight on the pre-assessment could be physical altercation, verbal altercation, you're being unkind, and you're all exactly right, but the exact definition is confrontation in which people cross lines to prove to each other who or what is right. And something I want you to focus on is the fact that you are crossing lines, basically saying that it's inappropriate. So I forgot to say this at the beginning, but at any point in time, please pause the video if you need to catch up on some of the blanks. Check with your partner to make sure you have the right words written in. Also, it's very important that you can read the words you're writing in because, like I said before, you will be having a quiz. What is debate? Debate can be formal or informal, so think about all that you know about formal and informal writing. Formal writing uses words like the person, the consumer, the individual, and then informal writing is more words along the lines of you and I. Debate can be with or without an audience. For our cause, we will not be having an audience because there's only 9 of you in class, so 5 will be on one side, 4 will be on the other, and then you have myself and Mrs. O'Rear. So unless you want to consider yourselves the audience, you will not be having one. It can be with or without a judge, so that would be it's a competitive or non-competitive debate. If we had a debate team here at school and you went to other schools to compete, you would have a judge. I guess you should be considering me a judge for your debate at the end of the unit because I am the one that is giving a grade for your individual participation, your individual written pieces that you're bringing forth for the debate at the end, and how well you present your information. Also, a debate can be written or spoken. So your opening statement, which you will learn more about, will be written, it will be practiced, and it probably will be partially memorized. And it can be spoken as well. There are many different debates that we see out there. It can be in a courtroom, it can be every day, it can be legal, it can be the political debates that happen during the elections. And lastly, a debate can be with or without consequences for whoever loses. If you're to think of a debate as in a courtroom setting, a consequence for if you are to lose would be that the person may go to jail or will be fined or something like that. A debate in the classroom, maybe the consequence if you were to lose would be getting an F. That is not what's happening with our debate, but that could be a consequence. You can't see the top of this slide, but it says that it's more than just bickering. So elaborate types of logic can be used in debates to make things more complicated. We will be going over deductive reasoning, inductive reasoning a little bit later, so don't worry about that. And there are many very formal types of debate. Each has its own set of rules and structures for what is said and when. And the structure we're using is the Lincoln-Douglas debates, and the abbreviation for that is LD. So when I'm saying that we're using the LD structure, again, that is referring to the Lincoln-Douglas debates. Here's some information on the Lincoln-Douglas debates. It's a series of 7 famous debates in 1858, so that should be filled in for 4A. And it was between Abraham Lincoln and Senator Stephen Douglas, hence Lincoln-Douglas. And they debated many different types of topics. Their most popular was slavery. And both were running against each other for the Illinois State Senate. And because their debates were so famous, students on today's debate teams compete against each other using this structure. Again, it is what we're using, but ours is a little bit more simplified. So this is the structure for Lincoln-Douglas if we were to use that exact one. There's an affirmative, constructive, negative cross-examination, negative construction, affirmative cross-examination, and I can just imagine that your minds are spinning right now because you don't know what those words mean. What I want you to focus on is on the side. There is a time limit for each of the parts of the debate, 6 minutes, 3, 7, 3. So that is what I mean by structure. On the left-hand side, I hope it's the left for you as well, it says, notice that. 2 debaters take turns, and there is no interrupting. So for 5A, 2 debaters take turns, and there's no interrupting. It is fast-paced. There are time limits. And it is a combination of delivering speeches, so that's for 5C, rebuttals to the other person's comments, and cross-examination, which is like interrogating in order to ask clarifying questions. So think of a courtroom there. The lawyer is asking interrogating questions to the witness up on the stand, and they're doing that for clarifying questions to help prove their point. This is our structure for Lincoln-Douglas. We have affirmative and negative sides. We're going to be having opening statements, rebuttals, and then closing statements and rebuttals, and nothing will exceed 4 minutes. The only thing that are 4 minutes is the opening statements and the closing statements. So how exactly do you debate? We're going to learn some vocabulary, so go ahead and pause the video right now and make sure that you have all the correct words filled in for each of the questions 1 through 5. I do want to go back to number 2 very quickly. For 2D, it says bottom line, fighting is personally attacking in order to win. This was not on the slide. So for 2D, fighting is personally attacking in order to win. I'm now going to ask you to fill in 2 words for the next blank. It says debating is a logical, objective, objective, discussion to determine what is right. So for 2D, bottom line, fighting is personally attacking in order to win. Debating is a logical, objective discussion to determine what is right. And please, underneath the word objective, right, draw a little arrow, put in parentheses the word neutral, which you spell Neutral. And that means you're in the middle. You don't have a preference on the sides. You can argue either way. So objective also means neutral. So go ahead and pause and make sure that you have everything else that you need. Moving on to the terms to know. I've been saying a lot about opening statements and closing statements. Opening statements, this starts for part 2 of your notes. For number 1, a statement made by the debater for each side at the beginning of a debate, in which each side outlines the case he or she intends to present. So it is an outline. You're kind of picking your strongest points that you're going to be talking about throughout the debate, and it's obviously said at the beginning, hence opening. Next is the closing statement, and you say this at the end of the debate, or your portion of it, and it's a summary of the case. You're wrapping it up, in which attempts to persuade the judge, or if there was a jury, to favor your side. So you're wrapping it up, you're retouching on your main points, and you're trying to persuade those to be on your side. And remember, the opening statement is a speech that you prepare and practice in advance. You're going to have your opening statement written. You're going to have this bit practiced a lot. So I expect you guys to be looking up from your notes to give your opening statement because of the amount of time you will be given to practice. Counter-argument, the opposite argument or viewpoint from what the speaker or writer is saying. So the opposite argument or viewpoint from what the speaker or writer is saying. So if I were to be debating Victor about Coke being better than Pepsi, after his opening statement, I would be giving my counter-argument about why he is wrong. And then there's a rebuttal, a response that refutes an argument. Think of this as a comeback. Think of a rebuttal as a comeback. To justify is to defend, explain, or make excuses for by reasoning. This is, I believe, filled out for you. Yes, it is, number 6. And now we're going into acknowledge. Oh, nope, just kidding. They give you examples. The student tried to justify why his homework was late, but there were no good excuses. And Shayla felt justified in stealing the pencil back since it was hers. Now we have acknowledge. It means to recognize or admit. So I can acknowledge that you have a point, but that solution is still impossible. That could be something that you're going to be doing throughout the debate, acknowledging that your opponent has a point. However, and then you'll be giving your reasoning. The lawyer acknowledged the counter-argument, but immediately stated his own rebuttal in return. Next we have delineate. You're marking the outline of, making a sketch, or describing in detail. So the students tried to delineate the speaker's argument by making an outline of all of the main ideas. The team of lawyers delineated the other side's argument in their attempt to find a weak spot and attack them better. So they made an outline and described in detail to find a weak spot in their opponent's argument. Evaluate is to examine, assess, and judge carefully. If you're evaluating something, you're examining, assessing, or judging it carefully. Example, the judge evaluated all the evidence and decided who was guilty. I watched both of the commercials to evaluate which cell phone would be a better buy. Claim, a statement that is open to challenge and that requires support. This word should be familiar from the research unit. You were going through and identifying the article's claim and giving the support for their claim. In my essay, I claimed that pizza was better than burgers, which is true. Evidence or support. These two words are going to be used hand in hand. If I say evidence, I also mean support. If I say support, I also mean evidence. And these are relevant pieces of information that support a claim. And this can be facts, quotations, examples, statistics, or stories. So just like in your research paper, when you were writing in quotations and then supporting the quotation, or you were giving a statistic or examples about your product, you're going to be doing the same thing here for the debate unit. However, you're just going to have these facts handy to use kind of as a comeback for what your opponent says to defend your side. So example, I couldn't find any evidence to support my thesis, so I had to change my research topic completely. Logic is a method of reasoning or thinking. I used logic to realize that if Disney is magic and magic makes wishes come true, then going to Disneyland would make my wishes come true. I don't know how logical that is. And then you have reasoning, a mental activity that consists of organizing information or beliefs into a series of steps to reach conclusions. So with reasoning, you are trying to follow steps to reach conclusions. I tried to reason with him, but I couldn't convince him to change his mind. And I really want you guys to focus on this slide because it's going to be clarifying for the affirmative and the negative sides. And this was even confusing for me at first, but this slide really clarified it for me. So the status quo is the current way of doing things. It's how we do things now. So currently, students are not required to wear uniforms at Prairie Point. That is the status quo, not wearing uniforms at Prairie Point. If I was on the affirmative side, I am on the team in favor of changing the status quo. So my point would be Prairie Point students should be required to wear uniforms to school every day. I am in the favor of change if I am on the affirmative side. If I am on the negative side, I am on the team against changing the status quo. So if I was on the negative side, I would be saying the current dress code is perfectly acceptable and students should not be required to wear uniforms to school. So just to reiterate, the status quo is what is currently required or currently happening. Affirmative means you are in favor of changing. And negative means you are against the change. And this I know you guys know very well, relevant and irrelevant information. Just to touch on it one last time, relevant is connected or related to the subject. It makes sense to bring that piece of information up. It helps defend your point. Irrelevant information has nothing to do with the subject. You shouldn't have brought it up in the first place, and it won't help your cause. And I believe these are some of the last ones. Causation. A cause and effect relationship in which one variable controls the changes in another variable. And a correlation, you may have heard this term also possibly in science, it's a relationship between two variables. And lastly, 17a, some of this is cut off, but a note, just because two things are related, it doesn't mean that one causes the other. So don't mix these two up between causation and correlation. And lastly, this is the link to how to study for your debate unit terms. You will need to go to Quizlet.com, and I recommend searching Miss Bertrand Prairie Point. And if I was looking at the web page, it would kind of be in the middle in a column, and I'm always the first one to pop up that says Miss Bertrand's class, Prairie Point Middle School. That is me. You also can try searching debate unit terms to know. And you want to make sure that it's my name, Miss Bertrand, that says that I created it. And once you find that, you need to click on Debate Unit Terms to Know, and I recommend using either Scatter or the flashcards to study for your debate terms. Again, I don't have a set date for when this quiz will be, but I will let you know as soon as I have an idea. Again, check with your partners, check with Mrs. O'Rear or the sub to make sure that you have all the correct bits of information for each blank. You can feel free to go back through the slide and just click through to make sure that you have everything. Ask any questions, or if you feel that I'm the only one that can answer them, write them on the back of your notes so I can answer it later. I hope you guys were respectful to both adults in the room and to each other. And I hope to see you later in the day walking around, and that you guys are excited for this debate unit. Have a good one.